Hi everyone. So I wanted to, well, first, I hope everyone is having a great morning. And I wanted to come on here and show you how to start a new company on QuickBooks Online. As a request of one of my supporters, Lynn, I hope this helps you. And again, if you have any questions, you can either send me an email or a direct message. So let's get started. So I wanted to indicate that this is my screen through QuickBooks Online Accountant. So if you are going to be creating an account, an individual account, I think it's like two windows after, and we are going to be seeing the same thing. But again, this is through my QuickBooks Online Accountant. And this is also for a company that is completely new to QuickBooks Online. We won't be doing anything regarding transferring Excel sheets or transferring desktop to QuickBooks Online. This is just straightforward QuickBooks Online, new to QuickBooks Online. So let's get started here. So on my window, I would choose Add Client. And again, this is this window. Um, this is the window that we would see either if you're an individual or a company. So again, on this screen, this is where you would choose either if this is going to be for individual use or for a business. In this for the purpose of this video, we're going to go under business. And this is where we would name our company, say the Sellers Company, and then the email that we're going to associate to it. And then on here, where under QuickBooks subscription, we would choose either wholesale discount, which would be if you are going through like an accountant or a bookkeeper, or it applies a discount for you guys. And then also direct discount, which would be directly billed to the client. And then on here, depending on which version of QuickBooks works best for your business, we would choose it here. We're going to go ahead with Plus. For the majority, that's the one I use. Of course, again, it all depends on what works best for your type of business. And on here is also where you would choose the master admin. Here you would check if I would, in this case, I'm checking that I want to be the master admin. And now, again, in my case, for the most part, I do like to be the master admin on the different books for companies. And again, it all depends on the level of control that the business owner wants to have. Maybe there are some owners that just want the bookkeeper to have all control because they just do not want to deal with it. Then that would be a time where you would be a master admin. Again, it all depends on what is the preference and what the client would want. So again, we would check on here, and then we would click on save. And then our next window would be telling QuickBooks Online about your company. So on here, what is the full legal name of your business? You're going to put it on here. We put that our business name is just Sellers Company. And on here again, it's a personal preference as well. QuickBooks Online has the option to, if for some reason the drop down isn't working. Okay, not exactly sure why the drop down on here isn't working, but on here is where you would choose your business based on the industry. So for example, if your business is regarding graphic design, then that's what you would put on here. If it's based off of plumbing, you would also indicate it on here. Now, again, the reason why I say this is by preference, based on what you put on here, this is where your chart of accounts would be generated from. And I personally like to choose other. And the reason why, again, I would choose other because it generates your chart of accounts. And I believe that no matter if we're in the same industry, every company's finances work very differently. So the chart of accounts that works for me in bookkeeping might not be the same for another bookkeeper. Therefore, in this field, again, this is a personal choice on what it is that you would want to do. I would choose other accounting services, just again because it gives me a I guess it gives me control of what chart of accounts I will be using. Again, the chart of accounts that I use are not going to be the same that another bookkeeper uses. Therefore, that's my personal view on why I would choose other. Now, if you feel more comfortable choosing the chart of accounts that QuickBooks Online gives you, then you would choose accounting as your description for your company, or preparation services. Again, this is all personal decision. If you're fairly new and you're going to be doing it, you're going to be working on your own books and without any prior experience, then maybe I would choose the options that QuickBooks Online gives you here. Like again, if you choose tax preparation services, it will be based on a generalized list that QuickBooks Online has for you. Now, again, this is a personal choice. I can't let you know that as I can't emphasize it as much as possible, or I'm trying to emphasize it as much as possible. It's just a preference on how you would like to control your chart of accounts. And then after this, you have an option over here. Again, as I mentioned at the beginning, this is going to be a new company in QuickBooks Online. So that means they have we're not transferring any documents over. We are not transferring desktop over. But if you were to be transferring, for example, from desktop to QuickBooks Online does give you the option here. And of course, it will guide you on how to transfer over desktop to QuickBooks Online. But also on desktop, there is an option where you would choose that you want to transfer over online. It'll bring up a couple windows and also and of course, as you go through the steps, it'll ask you to log into your online account that you have created for your company, and then it'll guide you on how to transfer everything over from there. So also, you have a couple options on how you would like to do that. So after we have decided on what we're going to do on here, we are again going to press again this part. This is not something that I'm gonna show in this video, so we're going to hit next. And for some reason, so you would press next, and for some reason my computer is giving me an error. I'm not sure exactly why I'm getting this, but the next window, what it shows you is how to choose the settings, or I guess it takes you through a survey of what you're going to be doing in your company, and based on what you're going to be doing in your company, I'll let you know. Okay, well, these are settings that I suggest, and that QuickBooks Online suggests. So again, the next page, I'm not sure why my QuickBooks Online is not doing it right now, but the next page is they'll ask you a couple of questions. They'll have a couple of tabs that you will go through, and you'll answer questions based on what you will be doing in your business. So I do apologize. I'm not sure exactly why it's not working for me right now. Technology, right? It makes things so much easier, but sometimes it is a little nerve-wracking, but again, the next window is just going straight through, asking questions about what you're going to be doing in your company, and based on that, it gives you a suggestion of what settings they suggest. I will show you where you can access those settings. So again, in this part, you would choose next, and then after the window that didn't show up for me for some reason, you would go through it and then press set up from at the bottom after you go through all the settings that you would like to put or access to your company. And then we are all set. And this would be our company. Again, this is a sample company. So that's why the name might be a little different. This is the sample company offered through QuickBooks Online. And then so when you are all set up, I would suggest going to banking, and under banking is where you would set up your direct feeds from the bank. Again, this is a sample company, so it won't allow me to, connect a bank account to this company, but it's pretty straightforward. You're gonna go to banking, and under banking, again, this is a sample company, so it's not gonna allow me to do it, but there's gonna be a screen here that is going to say connect account, and from there, pretty straightforward. You'll look up your bank information. Again, be very careful on. There are some banks, of course, Wells Fargo, Bank of America. They're pretty straightforward. I think it only has one option to choose from, but there are some other banks that have multiple. There's multiple options for it. So what I would suggest is go by the URL that they offer. Make sure that it is the same one that you log into. So be very careful again with banks that have more than one option. So after you have set up your direct feeds from your bank, we would go to try to set up our chart of accounts. Now here, again, at the beginning when I stated I personally like to choose other, this is the reason why I like to choose other. If you choose a populated one, I think QuickBooks Online Plus, you have an up to, I'm not sure, but I think it's 250 different chart of accounts that you can create within a company. And after that, you would be limited. In other, you are only specifically choosing the chart of accounts that you are using. Therefore, if there are some that you're just not using in the populated one from QuickBooks Online, then they're just going to be sitting there. But if you, under other, every chart of accounts is created by you. So you have at some point created and indicated that this is a category that you will be using or that works for you. So under chart of accounts, you would hit new, and under nothing wants to work for me today. Not sure why this is not cooperating. But again, you would choose new. I do apologize. I'm not sure exactly why my account was not working. I had to log out and log back in. So, so where we stopped under our sample company, accounting, we're going to work on chart of accounts. This is where you would create. And again, this is what I mentioned before. You see how 250 is the limit of chart of accounts in this option for this sample company. So again, this is a personal choice. It's up to you on what works best for you. And to create a new chart of accounts, which are your categories, you click on new, and on here For example, usually the bank would be created when we generate the bank that we're going to be linking from. But in our case, I did not link any accounts because this is a sample company. So I can choose it from here. I can choose bank. And then, depending what you want to call it, and then the type, ours is going to be a checking. So this is a bank type. We're going to call it checking. And again, the name could be whatever you want. If you have more than one checking account, say your checking could be uh, checking city bank or something, depending on what you want to call it. Again, you can call it whatever you want. You can add a description if you'd like, and then you would save and close. Again, this is a sample company, so I have created multiple, or they have created chart of accounts already, so that's why it's telling me that there is already a bank, a chart of accounts under bank. But again, this is the way you would create it. For example, say that we want to create a credit card account. We can choose credit card, and then we would name it credit card XYZ. And detail tab is going to be a credit card. You can add a description here, and you would hit save and close. And then on here, if you go down the list, here is the chart of accounts that I just created, credit card XYZ. So again, this is an overview of how to create a chart of accounts. You would just hit new, generate the chart of accounts that you would like to use. And this is the list of all the chart of accounts that have been created so far for this company. And again, don't get so wrapped up in creating chart of accounts from the beginning. A lot of especially when it's a new company and this is your first time using QuickBooks Online and you're just generating your chart of accounts, if you have linked your bank of accounts, all the feeds that are going to be coming into QuickBooks Online, as you categorize them, you can also create your chart of accounts from there. So again, don't get so wrapped up in creating all the chart of accounts from the beginning. If you link your bank to QuickBooks Online, as you're categorizing all those transactions, you can also create the chart of accounts that way. And from here, I would suggest creating your categories for expenses. And so again, you can create the different categories you're going to use for expenses. So the same way that we created a chart of accounts, you would go under expenses, choose expenses, and new transaction, and you created one from there. Or new transaction, then expense. And then again, today my computer is just not acting right. So I do apologize for that. But again, this is how you would create a new expense. And then also, I would also work on creating your vendors. And then same way, new vendor. And then you would populate the information that you would like that would be important for your company to have from your vendors. So that's another thing that I would suggest when you are starting a new company in QuickBooks Online. And for vendors, if vendors are always showing up here, this is the list of all the vendors that have been created for this company. Okay, so that is how again, how I would populate information for a new uh, account in QuickBooks Online. And then if you remember when we started, when we were creating this company, there was a part that my computer did not show where it's going to ask you questions based on what you will be doing in the company, and based on those options, whatever you chose, it's going to suggest what settings will work best in your company. Now I told you that I was going to show you how to get there. You would go to this gear icon right on here and then go to account settings. And in this window is where you're going to indicate a lot of the settings that are going to work best for your company. And you would just go through every single tab on here and just review it and see what's going to work best for you. Again, all companies are different, so settings are all going to be different based on what your preference is. So under, you would choose company. Again, just go down the list, and here you can upload a logo for your company. Of course, a company name. If the name changes, for example, you have a legal name and you want to just to be Craig's Design or something. Again, that's just an example. This is where you would indicate all that. Your employer identification number. If you don't have one for sole proprietor, your social on here. And then again, it's straightforward. Indicate all the information you want to populate on here. And then we would go down through usage, and this is where it lets you know like the limit of chart of accounts. Like for example, in this type of a company, you have a max of 250 chart of accounts available. 45 have been used. And then down through sales, again, you go through down all these indicating what works best for you, what you would like to use, which you don't think you would need to use. And again, just going down the list. Same thing for expenses. You got less options here, but again, it is a good idea to go through this from the beginning of starting a company, because this is how QuickBooks Online is going to work best for you. Again, these are settings that work best for you, for your company, the way you're going to be generating your finances, your numbers. This is one of the personally, I feel like this is one of the musts you have to do to set up QuickBooks Online to work best for you. So again, I cannot enforce enough that this is a very important step to take. This is very important. This is the settings. This is how QuickBooks Online is going to work for you. So definitely go through all the account in settings. And then after this, I would also suggest going through your products and services. So let me do that again. So you would go to gear, and then under list, choose products and services. And on here, you are going to make the different categories or the different what your company offers. So do you offer service or a product? And this is where you would create them. Of course, depending on what it is that your company is offering. And the way you would do that is you would go to new, and it's pretty straightforward from here. Are you offering a product? So inventory, non-inventory, of course. Then you got services, and then you also have bundles. So a bundle is when you would offer service and a product. So again, depending on what it is that you're offering, this is where you would create that. For example, say we're doing a service, you would name it. For example, I don't know, transporting vehicle, right? And then we are not a product, so we are not going to need a SKU number. And then category, depending on if there is already a category on here. If not, you're going to make one, add, and then create the category. And then you can give it a description as well. Sales, how much are you going to charge for the service? And do sales tax apply to it? And then save and close. And you create your service on here. And ours was, did we give it a, I didn't give it a category. So it went under pest control, of course. And again, this is a sample company, but it's right here, transport vehicle, and it's a service. So again, to recap what we have gone over, to set up your account in QuickBooks Online for the first time. Again, we are not transferring any Excel document or transferring from desktop to QuickBooks Online here. This is just straightforward first to QuickBooks Online. Company is new, completely new to QuickBooks Online. So to recap, I would work on chart of accounts. Very important to, again, focus on that. Again, it does not have to be done from the beginning. It can be done through your feeds from the bank as you're categorizing them. You can create your chart of accounts from there. That way, maybe you already have a category that works for it and you don't want to create double categories, of course. So again, there's a couple ways of doing that. So focus on your chart of accounts, setting up your bank feeds, and then also, so I would also focus on your expenses and vendors as they come in, and also setting up your product and services. And of course, again, I cannot emphasize it enough, or push it as much as possible, is your account settings. Definitely very important to set up your account and settings, because again, like I said before, again, I'm repeating it to you guys because it is important, this is how QuickBooks Online is going to work for you guys. So this is where all these settings will come from. So I hope that this video was helpful, and I hope that it guided you on how to create a new company in QuickBooks Online. And if you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to let me know. Shoot me an email or a direct message. Let me know if you like this video. And again, thank you, Lynn, for suggesting this. I hope that this helps you. Again, have a great weekend.